I turned a cake into a divorce announcement. The result was a public meltdown. Me, Ethan, 34M, was married to my wife, Laura, 31F, for 6 years. Our relationship had always seemed solid until the last year, when everything began to unravel. We were both well-established professionals when we met, and our initial connection felt like it was based on shared values and mutual respect. I had pursued a technical career, starting with a trade school and working my way up from entry-level positions. My expertise in coding eventually led to a reputation that outweighed my formal education. Laura, on the other hand, had a graduate degree and worked in a managerial role. Although our careers seemed to thrive in their own ways, there was always a subtle undercurrent of tension between us, which I initially took as friendly competition. In the early days, I frequently complained about the middle managers I encountered at work. I saw them as obstacles, while Laura viewed them as essential for managing personnel and resources. She consistently defended their actions, despite never having met them. This created a growing distance between us, and over time, I learned to keep my work frustrations to myself. I always had the feeling that Laura resented the fact that I hadn't pursued further education. She had initially pushed for me to return to school, but when I broke down the financial implications, she dropped the issue. We both entered the marriage relatively debt-free, and were close in terms of earning power, but the subject lingered in the background. 2 years ago, I began working for a company where the owner personally recognized my value. I now earned 50% more than Laura, and had a great working relationship with my manager. He wasn't a technical lead, but he exemplified what a good Scrum Master should be, allowing me to thrive in my role. The first few years of our marriage were fantastic. We enjoyed frequent date nights, shared hobbies, cooked together, and enjoyed each other's company. However, things began to shift when the lockdowns started. We both transitioned to working from home, and our once cozy home, complete with 3 spare bedrooms, became our separate offices. Our work-from-home arrangements differed significantly. I adhered to a strict routine: waking up, making breakfast, showering, dressing in a suit, despite my dislike for them, and heading to my office. For me, this routine created a mental boundary between work and home life. Laura, however, took a more relaxed approach. She would roll out of bed, have breakfast, brush her teeth, and head into her office in a t-shirt and sweatpants. I saw my routine as a commitment to professionalism, while she viewed hers as a more casual work environment. Over time, the proximity seemed to create emotional distance. Laura had several meetings a day, and her door was always open, which made it impossible for me to concentrate on my work. I, on the other hand, had only one daily meeting, and kept my door closed to maintain focus. When she expressed her hurt feelings about my closed door, I tried to explain it was for my concentration, but she suspected I was hiding something. Our attempts to maintain hobbies and quality time together dwindled as she brushed off these efforts, citing our constant proximity as a reason to skip them. Things worsened when Laura's company partially reopened its office. She eagerly returned to the office while my company remained closed. Her excitement about the office environment and social interactions with colleagues seemed to overshadow our relationship. She started staying late at work, socializing with coworkers, and attending after-work events. When I inquired, she became increasingly secretive and distant. It reached a breaking point when Laura handed me her old iPad one weekend, asking me to wipe it clean so she could give it to her niece. I agreed and started working on it, only to discover a treasure trove of incriminating evidence. Her messaging app was filled with intimate photos, videos, and conversations with her boss. They had been having an affair for 2 months. The discovery left me numb. It felt as though my blood had turned to ice. I copied all the evidence and stored it securely in a separate cloud account before seeking legal advice. I decided not to confront her immediately, choosing instead to gather more evidence and consult with a lawyer. The lawyer advised patience and recommended hiring a private investigator to gather additional evidence. Over the next few weeks, the private investigator collected photos, videos, and text messages, and my lawyer prepared the divorce filing. Despite the legal advice, the anger and betrayal I felt continued to fester. One evening, after a particularly heated argument where Laura blamed me for not being emotionally available and accused me of being intellectually uninteresting despite my technical career, I reached a breaking point. Her laughter in response to my threats of divorce only fueled my rage. I contacted my lawyer the next morning, still feeling a burning desire for retribution. I wanted to serve her divorce papers in a way that would match the intensity of my feelings. Despite the lawyer's warnings about potential legal repercussions, I insisted on a dramatic approach. The process server I hired was enthusiastic about the idea. I arranged for a custom cake to be made, featuring an image of Laura and her boss in an embrace with the words, "Here's your cake, eat it," written in icing. The cake was delivered to her office along with the divorce papers. The process server reported that when he arrived at her office, she was surrounded by coworkers. When he presented the cake and the papers, her reaction was explosive. She screeched, knocked the cake off the table, and had a dramatic outburst. The scene drew attention from her colleagues, who started berating her as she broke down in tears. My phone exploded with messages and calls from Laura, but I chose to ignore them. Her mother later informed me that she had gone to stay with her. While the initial rush of satisfaction from the cake felt exhilarating, as the hours passed, doubts began to creep in. I wondered if my actions had jeopardized my legal position or if I had let my anger cloud my judgment.